It's been a year since the July unrest. Our reporters are on the ground to see what has changed. Karinda Jagmohan is in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. Katlego Legodi is in Maboneng in Johannesburg, and Ahmed Kajee is in Jeppestown. But for now, we take you to Durban. That's where a printing factory owner says no financial assistance nor rebates were provided to him by government in the wake of the July unrest. Karinda Jagmohan spoke to the business owner Muzi Shange a little bit earlier on. What did he tell you about his experience, Karinda?
Indeed, while we heard from business owners on the ground about their concerns regarding just rebuilding over the past year, saying, or at least many business owners saying that they have not received the proper help to rebuild, and others who have been able to rebuild say that they're concerned about the security in South Africa, especially as the police were overwhelmed during that time. As we come here to Queen Nandi Drive in Durban, we are seeing a police armored vehicle. My colleague Pilani Zuma just showing you that vehicle next to a garage, and we hear just speaking on the ground to the policeman that this is actually just a precautionary measure. They were here yesterday as well in case there would be another sort of incident of looting and violence. We haven't seen anything yet, but of course this again a precautionary measure. And they are here because this is one of the major sites that were looted. In fact, this area, Queen Nandi Drive, nearby the Springfield Industrial Park, is one that has warehouses, factories, including the game warehouse. And although we're going to try and show you that, the truth is that the warehouse is no longer there. It was kind of, you would have seen it at the point where my colleague Pilani Zuma is showing you, but it was burnt during the unrest. And as a result, we understand that the warehouse has now since been excavated and construction is underway. We took a drive there just now. We hear, of course, game owned by Massmart that they have been trying to build, and we have also voices from a macro representative, Sue Ann Jones, who we spoke to yesterday. Take a listen to what she had to say.
On the day, on the 11th, 12:30 at night, when people were busy taking whatever they could at that time, and I saw it and did experience it myself when people were doing it, but when I came in, it was already late. I couldn't help it. I couldn't help it at all. People have to think for whatever actions they do, because in most of the time, bad actions have a negative impact to the society, to the people, to the environment. No matter what you do, if you don't think straight before you do it, then you're asking for more problems. Because if you look at it, how many people lost jobs? How many people died on the day? And I don't think that when they were deciding to do this thing, they had that in mind, that over 400 people will lost their life. That's a sad reality. People must think of their actions.
So that's the situation in KwaZulu-Natal, and we continue to reflect on the events of July last year. And in Johannesburg, some business owners say their establishments in Maboneng in particular remain vulnerable. While several of them in the area have resumed operations, it may take years for others to fully recover. We find Newzroom Afrika's reporter Katlego Legodi in Maboneng at one of the most popular eateries, or what was a popular eatery there in the area. What is their experience there, Katlego?
Well, Dudu, it's been 2 years, a devastating 2 years for businesses here in Maboneng. We're coming to you live from Pata Pata. This is an establishment that has been in existence for over 15 years, and they've been left shaky after the July unrest and the COVID-19 that decimated a whole lot of establishments. This is an area that has seen a whole lot of businesses shut down, and this area that we're coming to you from is a business hub, a tourist hub, where a whole lot of people just make their way here on on weekends and even during the week to just mingle and just learn about the street culture. I'm going to invite now into the conversation the manager of Pata Pata, that's being Mr. John Masiambiri, who's going to let us in on how they've been doing as a business. The July Unrest happened, sir, and we've seen that you guys at least you're still keeping afloat, and this is an establishment that was heavily attacked during those unrests. Maybe just let us in on how you are faring as a business.
Thank you for having me. For the July unrest, no, it did affect us in a very big way because as a business hub in Maboneng, we have our international, customers from abroad. They're also coming here. They get affected when people they're walking around, breaking windows and the properties. It's something that making people to fear. Because if you fear for your life, the business as well in large. So now it does affect us, and as right now the streets are now quiet because of all this happens, come again of COVID-19, and then we're also having the problem coming on with the ESCOM, load shedding. It's affecting us in a big way.
And this is an area that we know very well that, there's money that comes into here, into this area because of the fact that it has an economic role to play, especially where the local economy in Johannesburg is concerned. Maybe just let us in on, how has the business been doing, looking at, the process that you used to make back in the years before COVID happened and all of these challenges compared to now?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because in terms of let's go back to COVID. In COVID, we used to have minimum customers, because of the regulations, and we need prepared when we still learning how we can cope with this. The pandemic. It also affects us, the business. So we have to struggle. Even now, we are struggling. We keep struggling, but it's good part of it. We are still running, but in business now, we are not doing well. We are not doing well.
What do you say to issues of security? I know this is one hub where there are a lot of businesses here, and it was targeted during the July unrest, where a whole lot of establishments were vandalized. How is the issue of security here? I know that the private security is just roaming the streets here, but were the police responsive during those July unrests?
Yeah, this is a concern because it's more like police also, they were also standing by the fence, they were watching, but they were around, but no, they were not taking action. The security also, even they were roaming around the streets, but they're not helping as well. But it seems like it's a planned thing of which we are not even aware what's going on. But police were supposed there to control it, but also they're supposed to control it, but no, they were not doing anything to stop all these people coming to disturb and rob and loot the shops and destroy the windows and the properties as such. And it was not very good.
And just finally on my end, so just let us in on, the patrons that come here. Have you had to, go to extra lengths in terms of ensuring that you warn them or caution them around issues of safety and security? Have you had to implement extraordinary measures in case the July unrest repeat themselves again?
Yeah, we are trying to in future, things like this, like before it happened, we are not even planned for this. For now, we have set aside something that we can plan now, but more maybe security, because of when the gangs are coming, we need to stop them trying to destroy the buildings, the properties. So of all these things, we try to put something in a line for for security, more of it.
Mr. John Masiambiri, thank you very much for your time, sir. That is the manager of Pata Pata, an establishment here in the Maboneng precinct. This is an establishment that was heavily attacked during the July unrest. Him just raising issues of how they haven't been doing well as a business compared to back in the years. You can imagine COVID-19 happened. There was a lockdown where customers were not coming here. And also he mentioned the issue of electricity and load shedding, that it has affected businesses very negatively, and they're trying by all means to pick up the pieces and just to stay afloat. As you can imagine, that there are a lot of people that depend on this establishment as their day-to-day as they come here to work. Dudu?
On that issue of electricity, we could see very well for ourselves as you had to conduct much of that interview in the dark because of load shedding. This as the country is in the midst of stage 3 load shedding. Katlego Legodi in Maboneng, thank you for that update. And one of the first areas to be hit by the unrest in Johannesburg was Jeppestown. That's where we find Newzroom Afrika's Ahmed Kajee. He joins us from there. How are businesses in that part of the city doing, Ahmed?
Yes, Dudu, unfortunately, a few of the businesses in the Jewel Street area here in Jeppestown have just not recovered from last year's unrest. And the Unicorn Motor Store, motor garage is just one of those as well. We were here in the immediate aftermath of of the unrest, and this is the scene that we had come across. At the time, there was still infrastructure within this particular offices, which perhaps wasn't, which was damaged significantly, but not everything was taken. But as you can see, over the last year, this is exactly what we are seeing. There's just absolutely nothing left within this particular motor store. And that just goes to show that the damage that has been caused by last year's unrest, by last year's damage, has just not been repaired, and these businesses have not recovered. During the time that we had spoken to these business owners last year, many of them spoke about the fact that they just had to cancel some of their insurance payments due to the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic had just cost them a whole lot of financial challenges as well. And with those changing financial dynamics within their business, these are just some of the reasons they needed to cancel their insurance premiums. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Those policies being cancelled has just resulted in the closure of this business completely. But in terms of other businesses here on Jewel Street, what you normally would see is perhaps a re-emergence of business trade as well. You will see cars continuing their operations. All of these stores during the operations, during the unrest last year, the liquor stores, these convenience stores, these were all looted completely, with much of their supplies taken by those within the area. Lots of scrap metal was taken, and if you do have any of those visuals from last year, you would have seen that this particular unrest still faced this community a number of challenges. There are a few businesses just down the road who still also have not recovered from the unrest which had taken place last year. But just to put some context into what we had seen during the unrest, and that particular Sunday was one of the first instances of violence which we had seen in the Johannesburg region before it spreading out to the likes of Alexandra, Soweto, and a few parts of Mamelodi as well. The key themes that we had seen at the time was to remove the ban on the sale of alcohol. That is a major point of contention at the time, and many of the community members over here also spoke about the fact that they were not happy that many of the businesses over here were employing foreign nationals. Those are two major points of contention, which obviously then sparked into further unrest and further looting, which we had seen in those subsequent 8 days after that particular Sunday as well. And this is just, if one has to look at similar trends to what we have seen in recent months in terms of power supply challenges from Eskom, as well as the higher fuel prices, these are some of the topics which more or less can trigger unrest as well. And if one has to think of those themes around the frustration that was within South Africa at that particular time compared to what we are seeing at this part of the year, those parallels can be seen, and one hopes that we don't see a reflection or a repeat of what we had seen. But in terms of how businesses have perhaps recovered, unfortunately for many of those, they have seemed to have somehow recovered and restarted the operations. But for businesses such as the Unicorn Motors out here in Jewel Street in Jeppestown, it's just unfortunate that they just could not recover and had to close down shop permanently.
Newzroom Africa's Karinda Jagmohan on how some businesses are rebuilding in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. Katlego Legodi in the midst of load shedding in Maboneng as businesses tried to recover, and Ahmed Kajee painting a bleak picture of businesses not being able to pick up following the unrest in July. Thank you very much for those updates. We'll touch base with you later on.